Hello and welcome to Furthest from the Sea, Sessions from the Shore. In this video we're going to be learning how to make a simple sculptural objects out of really easy to use things that you will have around the home. Just using masking tape and newspaper you can make a whole range of amazing things. Today I'm going to show you how to make a starfish, but using the same process you could make anything. Ducks, trees, hats, pirates' hats, you could make a sword, all sorts of things. Just to give you an example of how the process works though, we're going to be making a starfish today. And this will be going towards your Arts Awards Discover making and trying out an art form. Remember, there's a pick and mix of lots of other different videos and art forms that you can try as well. So don't forget to look out for those, and you can try your hand at lots of other different types of art forms. So what we'll be needing for this is some newspaper and some rolls of masking tape. Now, as you can see, mine is yellow, and I'll show you how to get a coloured finish onto your sculpture as we go through the process. So this is a really flexible sculptural process, and all you need are newspapers and masking tape. So once you've decided what you want to make, which we know I'm making a starfish, you just need to get a sheet of newspaper and screw it up and then shape it a little into the shape. So this is going to be my first leg of my starfish, and once I've got it into the approximate shape that I want it, I'm just going to wrap newspaper around it, just like that. And when it's got the masking tape on it, what you will find is this becomes very, very sculptable. You can flatten it, you can bend it, you can turn it into all sorts of things. So if I was doing a crab, for example, I could turn these into little claws here, or shark's teeth. So you're just making the newspaper very, very malleable and making it into any shape you want them. So I've squashed that one now, look, and I didn't want that squashed on my starfish. I wanted a little bit flatter. So I'm going to have to make another one, and I'll take another one, and all you do is just use the newspaper and the masking tape, and wrap it round as much as you can. So ideally you want all of the newspaper to be covered up with your masking tape. And that's exactly the reason why I have got so much masking tape, because I do not want to run out. I've bought myself lots and lots. So obviously, the bigger your sculpture, the more masking tape you will need. So that's the first leg of my starfish. I'm going to take some more newspaper, and I'm going to do the second leg. And with this one, I think I'm going to do all of my legs first, then make a centre part that I stick all of the legs onto. Now sometimes, depending on what you want to make, you might make the big centre piece of the body first. So if I were making a horse's head, or my pet dog, I might make the head first, and these could possibly, might be this sort of shape for an ear. Well, certainly that one I flattened out earlier, can you see? That would make a very good dog's ear, or a rabbit's ear if I was making a big rabbit as well. So you just put the newspaper into the type of shape that you want, and then completely cover it with masking tape. This shape is also very good for making petals on a flower as well. And then you can make all of the different petals and then stick them all together at the end. But here we are making our starfish. So I've got 2 there. Now I need to make another. And again, I'm just roughly shaping the newspaper into the shape that I want it before I wrap it all round. Looking at my next one, I'm just going to cover that top part there. Can you see that one? And now we have got 2. And 3. And next one. So I'm going to get my next piece of newspaper and scrunch it up together and wrap around. And around. And around. So that's my 4th one. And you can see I'm kind of leaving the ends out there because I know that I'm going to be covering all of that up when I put the centre of my starfish in. So I'm not too bothered about that at the moment, but ultimately I will need to have that covered because I don't want to see any of the newspaper, I just want it all covered in masking tape. See that one? And because my hands are bigger, if you notice when I'm wrapping, I'm able to stick it on and just keep winding the piece around. But depending on how big your hand is, you might have to just cut each piece of masking tape off like that and then wrap it round. So it's just, my hands are a little bit bigger and I'm a little bit of an expert at making things with this method because I find it a really, really easy way to make big sculptural things. And the good thing about it is they become quite lightweight. Usually when big sculptures like the Andy Goldsworthy we looked at in the previous video, they're big and heavy. Oh no, like the Anthony Gormley that we looked at in the previous video, they're really big and heavy. So this makes a big sculpture but quite light, and that's why I like it. So this is my central body now. So this time, instead of a pointy, I'm trying, if you can see, look at a circly bit that I'm going to be putting on there for the centre. Now I think that looks a little bit like, too much like a flower. So I think I'm going to stick my legs kind of in the middle rather than underneath. But you can always just tape it round and then it will flatten it together a little bit more as well. So that's the good thing about this process, is you can just tape it and squash it and mould it with your hands So here we go. I'm going to use I think I've used all my newspaper now, so I'll take those away because I don't need those anymore. I'm just working all on my sunflower now, not sunflower, because I'm just working all on my starfish now. If we can see that one. And then we'll put that on there. And we want to make sure these legs of my starfish are on really, really strongly. So I've put long strips all the way on each side, and then I'm going to flip it over. Oh, see, that was and I'm going to do the same on that side as well. Just remember though, at the end, ultimately, we don't want to see any of this newspaper. All of that newspaper is going to be completely covered. Okay. So I'm going to put it in like that and put it up there. And we can see now that it's becoming more starfish-like, isn't it? Can you see that? So I need to really get these legs on very strong onto its body. What we don't want is to have those falling off. And so whilst I'm covering all of the newspaper with the masking tape, what I am also doing is making sure it's really sticking the legs on very well as well. Okay, so under there, and round there, under there, and round there. Under there, and round there. And again, if you're wanting to shape them a little bit, if it comes together and it's starting to not quite look like the shape that you wanted, you can just give it a squeeze and a press, and you can just move it to be the shape you want. And put that on there. And look, I've already used one whole roll. So I'm going to get my next roll of masking tape now. I'll put it on there like that. Now, once you've got it all, it's getting, these two are really strong on now. If you see these two, I can pick the whole thing up by that. If you can see these two are still quite wobbly. So I'm going to turn it up the other way and start to give it a real good secure now. And make those just as firm as the other ones. Getting better. Turn it over. And now all I have to do is start to cover. Now it's all nice and strong. Maybe that one's a little bit less strong. I need to strengthen that a little bit more. And as soon as you've got it all nice and strong on, for the rest of the time, all you have to do is just spend your time covering up the rest of the masking tape. And that's essentially it. I've now got my sculpture, which is looking fantastic, and it's also super strong and super light. So this, I have obviously made a starfish, but this could be anything. A pirate's hat, it could be even a life-size pet dog or cat. Using this method is really, really easy to create big sculptures very, very easily. Now, if you did want to colour your sculpture and didn't want to just leave it looking this artistic colour here, then there are two ways of doing that mainly. The first is getting your paints that you might have at home and painting it all over. But I'm going to show you a method now that will make your sculpture a little bit stronger, and it will also put some texture onto it, so it will give it a depth as well. For this method, you'll need some PVA glue, which I've got here, and I've added a tiny little bit of water to that to make it a little bit runnier, because then it's easier to work with. Not too much water though. And I'm going to take some tissue paper. And what you need to do for this, and this is the important part to give it depth and texture to your sculpture, is to tear your tissue paper up. Now I'm tearing mine into strips, and then once I've torn all of my tissue paper into strips, I am then going to tear them into little squares. Well, not little squares, but approximately squares. So now I can tear across and tear into squares. This is where it gets a little bit messy, so you might want to get a pot to put all your tissue paper in, and that will help keep things nice and tidy, and also it'll help you not get any tissue paper that you're not going to use covered in PVA, because this can get a little bit of a messy task here now. And because of that fact, what I'm going to also do after I've torn all of my tissue paper up into these sections is I'm going to place a piece of newspaper underneath my sculpture. So you might want to do that. You might have a tablecloth that can be wiped clean, which would be good. So once I've got that there, I am now going to do a very simple task of painting my sunflower and popping a piece of tissue paper on. And then I'm going to paint on top of it. And then the next piece I get, and this is where it gives it depth and texture and colour, because where the tissue papers overlap, you will get a darker yellow and a darker colour than where it's just a single piece. So as you begin to cover your whole sculpture with different pieces of tissue paper, you'll start to get different colours coming through from the different tones and layers of the tissue paper. So you need to just glue on top, okay, so glue on the bottom, put your piece on top, and then glue on top, and that will help it to stick down well. And you just need to keep on covering the whole of your sculpture with the tissue paper, painting the PVA glue on your sculpture and then on top of the tissue paper too. Depending upon what you are making, you may wish to rip up different shades and tones of tissue paper and layer those on top as well. It obviously depends what you're making though, and so it's a good idea to plan out and think carefully before you begin. And there you have your completed sculpture, which I hope you can take inspiration to make your own items, whether that be your cat, your pet dog, or lots of other items from the seashore. But really, this technique's are really transferable. Transferable, it means you can use it for lots of different things. It's a technique that you can use and very easily to create all sorts of wonderful things and bring your imagination and ideas alive. I hope you have fun creating whatever you come up with. And again, don't forget to tweet us or send a picture in, because we would love to see what you've been creating.